Welcome back to the Lanterne Rouge cycling podcast for stage 16 of the Giro d'Italia, a stage which Benji called last October a disgrace and an offensive use of the Stelvio. He said that then, and it's taken all the way to till today for it to be addressed. We originally had the Stelvio cancelled a week ago because the trucks couldn't get up there to clear the snow because there was an avalanche risk, so they were going to do the Umbrel Pass 300 meters or 250 meters lower and still go up to high altitude, do a big climb, etc. So it was going to be another long stage.
Umbrel Pass is basically the Stelvio, but one like a crossroad lower on the climb that they turn off?
Yeah, I think so. I think they just turn off early. I don't really know exactly. Luke says yes, so that means it's correct. But we had some weather forecast last night, Benji, and I think I knew, like, the annual tradition is that a stage in the Giro must be amended or cancelled or shortened. We hadn't had one yet because we've had excellent weather this Giro compared to last year. It's been really, really good weather. But today was the day. What was the forecast this morning for the Umbrel Pass?
Well, I feel like, first of all, I already heard last week, I think I posted it in our private group chat, that there were some bad weather conditions coming towards the mountain ranges across Europe. So to be clear, these weather predictions, they were kind of already out there for what felt like 5 days to me. But then again, you're right. It was actually yesterday where we heard the first rumors, to the point that Tudobici, Italian cycling media platform, reported that the Umbrel Pass might be taken out, and they reported it as voices in the peloton rumoring about it. So when I hear voices in the peloton rumoring about it, I think CPA versus our RCS event is coming soon to television, because that's what voices in the peloton usually means. And then in the late afternoon yesterday, on the rest day, I saw some tweets by Simon Geschke starting to tweet about a potential discussion, an alleged discussion between the CPA and RCS, because the riders wanted the Umbrel Pass to be removed from the route. And what were the reasons for that? From yesterday's perspective of riders, I spoke to a few riders yesterday on the rest day, and I'm just quoting in the following sentence there. Tomorrow, it's 0 degrees on Umbrel Pass, so the descents will be tricky, and there's a risk of hypothermia, especially in case of rain and snow. Next quote, even if you are well dressed in a bunch, you get wet in a few minutes with the water coming down from the road because of the wheels and so forth. The next quote, the safest option would be starting in the valley after Umbrel Pass. And based on that, not based on this morning, but based on that, how do we compare that to the other incidents we had in 2020 stage 19, that rainy flat stage that got shortened, 2021, Cortina d'Ampezzo, 2023, the Crump Montana stage? What's your take?
Yeah, so there's a lot of history here between the CPA and RCS, and so every year there's been, the last 4 years or 5 years, there's been a stage that's been amended. Now, on a few, I remember the 2021 from memory was the... And I remember I think we got a lot of flack for that at the time. At the time in 2020, we said that it shouldn't have been shortened. It was a flat, long stage, 250 Ks, 11 degrees raining, and the riders said we're not doing it. But in terms of safety, there was no extreme weather protocol in 2020. That was just, people said, oh, well, there's some sickness, etc. But really, it was 11 degrees and raining on a flat stage.
Do you think that back then the COVID saga influenced that day?
I mean, that's a very long straw, like, bow to draw. We can do a full Grand Tour during COVID, but not too long. To me, it's like either is safe to race or not. So that's problem or episode number 1. Wouldn't have put the CPA or the riders on the in the good books of RCS and Mr. Veni. 2021, they couldn't get any of the cameras to work just about on any stage, but there was the Cortina d'Ampezzo stage, the Queen stage. I think there was bad weather, like snow even. on Zhao. It was cold stage, and they still did like a big couple of big climbs. They shortened that, fair enough. That one didn't. That one, there didn't seem to be as much disagreement, Benji. It more seemed to be no contingency plan in place.
Agree, but also, let's be honest about it. We also were memeing everything about the coverage too much, because even if they had put in more climbs, we wouldn't have seen it. Because every single climb, there was no footage that day anyway. So I think that's also one of the parts where that's why it also didn't matter as much. But I agree that those conditions that day seemed more like the freezing rain you'd put under extreme weather protocol than cold, flat stage like in 2020, you know?
Yeah, I think so. 2022, Benji?
2023, stage 13, Crans Montana.
But no 2022? Did we skip a year?
Honestly, I can't remember a stage being shit-housed in 2022.
Okay. Well, okay.
Is that illegal?
Well, I think it was good weather that year. They didn't really do many high passes then. The only high pass they did was they did Africa on stage 16, but they didn't even go over 2,000 meters that stage. And Fedaya was high, but they finished up there. So they did San Pellegrino, Portadoi, Fedaya. 23, Benji, which stage was it?
2023, stage 13, Crans Montana. So that was the one where, I don't even remember. I think the first climb of the day was supposed to be the San Bernardino. I'm just inventing shit probably. Isn't that the one where they had the tunnel that they had to go through, and then they skipped that, and then they did Quadacur instead? They started with a full-on ascent of the Quadacur, downhill, flat segment towards Crans Montana, and they shortened that stage.
Yeah, that stage again. So this is in the 2020 basket. This one was a shambles, and it was a real... This was where the WhatsApp voting came out with Hansen and the riders. And so what happened was... This is what happened, pretty sure.
Okay.
The riders originally were worried about an unrepaired road descending off the Quadacur, technical descent in the wet, dangerous descent before Crans Montana. GC riders were worried about it. Then it had been raining all Giro last year, I think. It rained a lot. And then there was the long climb before. The weather forecast was like 8 degrees rain. I think at the top, it ended up being not even raining at the top. And so originally they went to RCS and they said, take out Quadacur and that descent. RCS said, no, because it would need to reroute it through on a different road in Switzerland, because that was a Swiss finishing stage, I think. And then RCS said, how about we take out the first climb, keep the dangerous descent? Riders immediately vote on WhatsApp. You're Tim Merlier or a sprinter. You're like, wait, so I don't have to do a 2,400 meter pass. The stage is 60 Ks. I don't care about a dangerous descent. I'm dropped. I'll do it. These guys can go down any wet descent at their own pace, never crash if they take it careful. Like, they're so skillful. And so the riders, 80% or whatever, then voted to get rid of the first climb, and then the GC riders, I remember, because once they were telling me, they were thinking, what the fuck? We have to race down it. Now, luckily, fortunately, Ineos took control and just basically neutralized it, and the brake had gone.
Yeah.
But still, the brake is pushing the descent because they're trying to make a gap. So that one was like, what are we doing here?
Yeah.
Like, was it about the dangerous descent or not? And that was also the clearest example of the rider's majority does not necessarily mean it's the correct thing to do. Now, I'm about to get to this stage. The rider's majority, if you ask a sprinter, would you like this mountain stage to be halved? They will say yes. Why wouldn't they? What should we let GC riders before a sprint stage with a technical finish say, we don't want to race that. Take it out. I don't get anything but from it. And there's nothing to gain. It's dangerous. Of course not. So that's where you've got to be careful with, just because the majority votes, that means it's necessarily correct.
I agree with your take on that. And then we go towards basically last evening about this stage, for example, just to compare with your point there. To me, if I look at the parkour and I see the parkour and I think, okay, if we take the Umbral Pass out and we start after the Umbral Pass, then we've got a 120 kilometer stage with just the final climb. That is the perfect stage for Pogačar to win, in my opinion. So all the teams with breakaway riders that want to do something that day, on paper, let's say if they were a bit malicious and we're like, okay, safety, well, let's put it aside. I can actually have more of a chance of winning if we have those climbs in. On paper, they'd go for the longer version of the stage then. But I feel like those riders went for safety first today. And yesterday, in the evening, we actually got a quote, like a press release by RCS saying, if the conditions are ordinary, the race will take place. If the conditions worsen, there will be a 3-minute neutralization at a parking spot on the top of Umbral Pass. So I went full detective mode. I was like, let me put my Sherlock Holmes hat on. Let me look on Google Maps. There's like 2 small parking spots on top of Umbral Pass. Where the hell would they have done that? It would not fit on that mountain. Honestly, like, so even 3-minute neutralization, I think that's completely unrealistic. Like, first of all, breakaway may be up the road. Who knows? You might know. You might see that happen. So if a breakaway is up the road, gets to that point, they have 3 minutes to change clothes. That's the logic behind it. Because if you are super wet, you go into the descent in relatively cold conditions. Let's say 1 to 5 degrees or even freezing conditions. Then you're gonna freeze to death in the descent. So that's the logic behind changing clothes on top. But then what are you going to do with the gap between the breakaway and the peloton? And everybody has been dropped on the climb so far. And I think that's pure shambles, that idea. And then the third point of that press release was, if the conditions are extreme, so according to the written extreme weather protocol in the UCI rules, the race will be neutralized until it is deemed safe to ride, which I think that's, at that point, it's low-key fair to say if the conditions are ordinary, the race will take place. If it's extreme, then we'll have to figure something out. So do you disagree with that statement from yesterday from RCS?
I mean, I don't see how you can do like a neutralization in... I don't really understand how it would work. Like, in reality, it would be a shit show.
Yeah.
There's rides all over the place. Where are the cars getting there? How are the cars? We're talking 18, 22 cars for each team. 44. Like, it just wouldn't work. It's either they can do it or they can't. Like, listen, RCS got this calendar slot for the Giro. They got May.
Yeah.
If you put in these famous climbs, when I looked, I saw 5 degrees, not raining, and people are like, oh, that's dangerous. No, 5 degrees, not raining, that's good. At 2,400 meters in May, that's good. 5 degrees, not raining in the morning. Rain and sleet and snow, whole different story, and wind, whole different story. Benji, not even a plug today for enjoying, but I went out and did my VO2s today. Yeah. I went left, right in shorts, went up to 1,900 meters, and I was like warm. I wore a long sleeve gilet. 1,900 meters, like 8-10 degrees. Then it started raining and hail on me with some wind. I did a 3-minute descent, 3 minutes, and I was fucked. I was so cold in 3 minutes. Now these guys, pardon?
You didn't call Adam Hansen.
Yeah, I need to call Adam Hansen to talk to myself beforehand or to pick me up. But and then now these guys have to do 2,500 meters in maybe 3 degrees, snow, down all the way down to the valley. Like, you will be, think of the coldest you've ever been in your life. Like, in the sleet and rain, it makes a huge difference. You will be so cold, even with the right clothing. So they eventually took it out. And then what happened, Benji? RCS, one of them had a handshake gentleman's agreement that they would do the Livigno. The comms was really bad. Even by recent years levels, the comms, I stopped refreshing Twitter. I was like, listen, let me know when you figured it out, let me know. I'm going for a ride. Like, this is ridiculous.
Yeah. This morning, we had, first of all, this morning, the weather conditions were worse. Like, we weren't talking about dry 5 degrees anymore. We were talking about, it was snowing on the first descent. It was raining, snowing, freezing rain. It was wet descent. So this is extreme weather protocol behavior, in my opinion. If I read the rules, I would consider this apply the rules situation. And then there was the standoff between RCS and CPA the entire morning. RCS wanted the full stage still. And then CPA plus riders wanted to start after the Umbral Pass. And eventually RCS gave in with that proposal you just mentioned, which was a token 5-minute start in Livigno, because reality is Livigno is paying the Giro to start in Livigno. And if RCS doesn't have the Giro start today in Livigno, then they either have to probably pay them back, or they have to do what has happened in the past, I think, which is
give them another
come
one
back
a
in the
year.
coming years.
Well, yeah, because they bought the deluxe package. They bought stage 15 rest day and stage 16 Livigno. And Livigno is cold as fuck, like, as well, by the way. This weather's not unexpected in that you don't be surprised if there's sleet and 3 degrees on top of the umbrella pass. And I'm pretty sure you have to go over a mountain pass to get out of it. Now, I feel like RCS shot. So the reason we've gone through all the history is because RCS, I think, decided before this race, we're drawing a line in the sand and we're not letting the riders shorten the stage again. And that's why, even though of all the recent examples in the last few years, Benji, this was the clearest example that the weather was too bad for them to do it. It was like there's no way. If you're like, oh, just ride it. No. Like, it's 3 degrees snowing. Like, I think 2,000 meters and probably colder up there. Like, that, they can't do it. But RCS was like, no, we're not getting pushed around again. And so it took so long. And eventually the riders didn't do the Livigno rollout, so they lose the money. I'm not sure that'll have endeared them to RCS. But I don't know what exactly happened there. But the whole story, Benji, is there's an extreme weather protocol. Why doesn't the UCI Commissaire just decide it? Why is this even going to a CPA vote?
I agree. I agree with your take. It's like, I've got multiple aspects to it. First of all, I agree that the weather was too bad to do those first climby segments and they should start in the valley. Secondly, I also am of the opinion that the riders could have done something towards the organization and ridden that token start. Yes, it's not ideal. Yes, you're in the rain for a little bit, but that way you're at least, like, what do you call that? Like a little bit of a middle ground. But I think that's because RCS. But I think that's because RCS was so harsh in the running towards this morning.
I think so.
That they fucked themselves. So I think that's why the riders did that. And then, like you said, eventually the actual, I don't know, it's just a UCI on paper should do that.
Yeah. Anyway, the stage gets changed, so we end up with 119 kilometers with a 83 kilometer valley, including 7K, 7.5%. And we're finishing in San Cristina in Gröden. We in Switzerland? Don't know. No, we're in the Südtirol, I think. And then we go up to the Passo Pinay, 5K, 7%. It's like a stepped climb, and then the final finish is actually quite steep, 6K, 6%, but it's a fake news climb. Last 2Ks are like 12%. And yeah, Benji, I agree. Like the RCS, if last night they'd come and said, hey, okay, we'll get Umbrella gone. We're going to start in the valley, but you guys got to start. Get all your buses ready. You got to do the 10K rollout in Livigno. I think it happens, but that's not the way it happened. And maybe that's not the last we'll hear of it. Maybe that's Vuelta and Giro changing slots. We've already discussed that. But yeah, anyway. But that makes it less of a break stage, Benji, because there's no Stelvio and longer valley to control. It means really the break, they have to get a big margin before that 25K of climbing at the start. And who looked interested in the break?
Well, there were quite a bit of riders interested in the break, but with this flat run, and it's as simple as if a few teams or one team decides to control, it's much harder to create that breakaway, because in this scenario you would have 4 or 5 riders going up the road, and then every counterattack would be followed or neutralized by the team that is willing to control. And that 4-man group that went up the road was Mirko Maestri and his fellow compatriot Julien Alaphilippe. So the romantic duo, a better love story than Twilight, is how I see those two from the breakaway on the Alaphilippe stage win. Then Ballerini and Piccolo joined them, so a 4-man breakaway. And that was the breakaway for the day. And the one team controlling that was not just UAE, Movistar was active. And I was thinking, okay, where's the incentive coming from? Because there's multiple angles here. Movistar starts controlling the stage after the breakaway goes at about a minute 30 behind them with Gaviria in the valley. They've got Quintana, they've got Rubio. Quintana can only win from the GC group, because that's a scenario they're building, if Pogacar gives him the freedom because he's so far in GC. That counts for everybody in the peloton at this point, in my opinion. On the other hand, Rubio will be marked by everybody around him in the top 10, but the one thing I could see that could be a reason is Movistar might be pacing to make the stage a little harder in this weather against Tiberi, Zana, and Bardet, but that's a bit of a stretch.
I couldn't really figure. I mean, and it gets worse for Movistar. I mean, could you really figure out what they were trying to do?
At this point, I was looking at like, okay, either they think Quintana's on a nuclear day, or they're trying to make Zana's life miserable. Is how I perceived it.
I mean, maybe they saw something, but yeah, Alaphilippe, he's clear. He's got like a minute 30. I can't remember exactly. Sanchez, I don't know when he attacked Benji. It was raining. It was bad weather. It would have been cold. He attacks, which, okay, fine. Okay, I can sort of see they wanted to keep it close so maybe Sanchez can go for the win. It's a bit hard for him, but okay. Then Quintana starts pacing behind Sanchez. Now that's where I started to get really confused. What is going on here?
Is a satellite if it never reaches space? Is a satellite rider a satellite rider if it never reaches satellite rider territory? He attacked so close in the past that he just spent his energy attacking to the point that he might not have been recovered from that to then drop back and pace again. And this is like I'm trying to figure it out, eh? If Quintana's pacing behind Pelayo Sanchez, who just attacked from the group, then I'm thinking, okay, they're using him as a satellite rider, but he just attacked, so he just spent energy trying to get that gap. And then I'm thinking, okay, Pelayo Sanchez starts pacing, Quintana drops. Sorry, but
he did pull strongly. He dropped Bardet and has Zana on the limit.
Fair, but I still expected a bit longer.
Oh, I think he did it. I thought he did an okay pull.
Oh, okay.
But then, for Quintana, by Quintana standards, we're talking comparing to zero pull.
Credits that he worked for Rubio today.
But so this is the situation. Rubio has Bardet and Zana cracking, who are both ahead of him on GC. Quintana's pulled off. Sanchez is caught as a satellite, which never reached orbit. You'll never guess what happens next. Sanchez attacks. I was like, what? Just steady pace the group. You have the two guys ahead of you on GC behind. Just set a pace. It was also a flatter section coming up as well. This is an undulating climb. Sanchez really good for it.
Yeah.
Maybe Rubio was cooked. I don't know. But at this point, I was like, then Sanchez, I think Pellizzari goes, cost you, Little Red Fire Truck goes, and someone else across to Alaphilippe who's like 30 seconds. Sanchez gears stopped working. He's stuck in the big ring. Has to get off. Oh, it was a mess. It was a mess.
It was a mess. It was a mess. It was like the tactically perfect meme by Valverde again. Typical, like, this was Movistar tactics back again. On one end, I'm happy that they tried something, because otherwise we're just watching UAE trying to control a breakaway for a Pogacar stage win. And this way we at least had a bit of interesting things happening during the stage. But after Bardet's dropped, Sanchez should just keep pacing like you mentioned, because Bardet was dropped by 40 seconds, eh? Not by 10 seconds, not by 15 seconds.
No,
40
he was cracking.
seconds was the gap. Like, and because of this, he eventually gets back, by the way, before we get to the final steep segment. But after Movistar goes off the front, we see UAE take over. We see the typical train action with 7K to go, UAE, 5.5K to go. It's Micah that takes over. And I'm like, okay, look at this climb. The next 3.5 kilometers are actually not that hard. The last 2 kilometers are bloody steep. So I'm expecting Pogacar Airlines to launch in the last 2 kilometers. And Micah at first paced hard. Then there was a moment where Pellizzari, who ends up passing everybody in the front, was gaining time a little bit again to like 30, 32 seconds, I think, roughly.
Yeah,
and then Micah went hard again. Yeah. It's a fake news climb.
Yeah. I think the descent, Micah, also in the wet, maybe not the best. Also, I think Poggy even lost some wheels on that. There's a right-hander into the steep bit where they're taking it careful.
In that corner, I feel like Pellizzari also fucked himself a little.
Yeah, they lost the wheel that cost you. Him and
Retruck cost you went off the front for a little bit in that corner. But anyway.
Who's the other guy with them? Alaphilippe, by the way. Alaphilippe, honourable job. When he got caught by those guys from behind, he just pulled on the flat, absolutely full gas to try and help them win. Honourable rider. When you saw Micah comes to the front, Benji, why is that?
At that point, I'm thinking for the stage win.
There's no other reason, right?
He doesn't need time on the others. On that point, I think for the stage win. No other
For the
reason.
stage. Okay.
Yeah.
Mike comes to front for the stage. And then he does absolutely nuclear lead out. Micah literally like drops every other GC rider off his wheel just about in the first 300 meters of the steep climb. Pellizzari goes past Costu, catches up to him. And yeah, Pog is basically left with no one on his wheel.
But Rubio is dropping earlier than Zana, which is also important.
Yeah.
Then I look at the rest of the group and I see Arensman's like 2 spots in front of Thomas. And then there's a bit of a gap behind Tiberi to Thomas. So Thomas looks to be in slight difficulties. And Pogacar is only just about to launch from Micah's wheel. Not at 2 kilometers to go, not at 1.8 kilometers to go. At 1.7, 1.6 is roughly when we do see that Pogacar attack. And it's that, we've spoken about it before, not the brutal explosive attack, but the, I'm going to set a hard pace and you can't follow me anyway attack. So that's the thought I had. 30
like
seconds. Yeah, like on Mont. 30 seconds, 25 seconds, 24 seconds, 20 seconds. Passing Kosciu, passing Scaroni. He was, honestly, it looked like he was having a relatively easy ride up this climb. Like, it looked like he had it easy, right?
Yeah, but he was pushing because the gaps are huge. It's a 2 kilometer climb. So the GC group comes into a 2 kilometer climb together. And yeah, Pogacar catches everybody, drops everyone. Martinez, the best of the other GC riders. Pogacar catches Pellizzari, goes past him, and wins the stage by 16 seconds ahead of Pellizzari, who actually outsprinted Martinez for second. Martinez one of those extra 2 bonus seconds. Pogacar holds up the 1, not 2, not 3, not 4, 5 stage wins in the race. Yeah, that was nice. Scaroni fourth. Tiberi. Let's talk about the rest of the GC guys. Tiberi was originally dropped by Arensman. G was struggling a lot today. And Arensman goes and rides for the white jersey, Benji. He eventually gets caught by Tiberi and dropped by him, loses 5 seconds to Tiberi. G and O'Connor neck and neck. I think APP was helping O'Connor. VPP finished 4 seconds ahead of O'Connor. I think they were pulling O'Connor. I'm not sure exactly. So G kind of saved it in respect of podium, but in terms of second, he takes a big blow, losing 16. Can I count 16? He loses 33 seconds to Martinez on a 2K climb. And so he's now back into third. Martinez 22 seconds ahead of him. O'Connor and G stay in the same distance, a minute 2 apart from each other. Tiberi 10:09 in fifth. No other changes in the top 10, I don't think. Tiberi actually extends his lead on Arensman in the white jersey by a handful of seconds. So what do you think about Arensman riding his own race, Benji?
Like on one end, Arensman could have potentially helped Thomas a little bit mentally, but when it comes to the actual gradients on this climb, the draft wouldn't necessarily have made much of a difference, I think. So if you think that it would, for example, when Bernal was dropping on Sega di Ala in 2021, is my guess. Martinez was with him. I was like, oh, come on. The draft at that moment probably didn't matter too much, but the mental aspect of that might help a little bit. But I'll be honest, I don't think Arensman dropping for Thomas would have made a difference today.
No, I think G was happy to ride his own pace. In fact, I don't think G could have followed that Arensman pace. Well, he didn't, because I think Arensman overextended, and he still finished 11 seconds ahead of G.
Yeah.
But yeah, Arensman, Tiberi kind of rode with Caruso and then accelerated right at the end and paced it a bit better than Arensman. So now listen, it would have looked a lot worse if O'Connor was good today in this finish. If O'Connor is with Martinez, then you're losing podium, and then kind of you do need to, every second counts.
Yeah.
But with O'Connor still with G, in the end, it didn't really matter. He was losing second on this stage to Martinez, whatever Arensman did. But it's just something to watch, particularly, this is like 2K, 14% ramp as finish. It's something to watch more on the 6-7% climbs we got coming up later. After the stage, Benji, Pogacar says, we wanted to this is from Mihai Simeon, so trusting his transcription. from the interview, Pogacar said, we wanted to let the breakaway win, but Movistar kept it very close. In the last 2 kilometers, Rafa had enough, that's Rafa Marca, and said to push on to make some gaps. I was thinking actually that Pellizzari would win today's stage, but yeah, he was close.
So hear me out. I know you disagree with my take on this, but when I was watching the last kilometer, I had a feeling that Pogacar was trying his best to not beat Pellizzari here. First, it sounds ridiculous and naive, but something in me was telling me that that was the case. And like at a certain point, it's a sunk cost fallacy, and you have to go past him anyway, and you have to keep going. But you look like you 100% disagree with me.
Wow, I think you mistake how easy people are mistaking how easy Pogacar did this for the fact that they think he's doing like 300 watts. He's not.
What?
He looks
not
easy.
300.
He's pushing hard. He just looks comfortable. He's pushing hard. You do not create that gap in such a... Remember Danny Martinez Puy-Marie in 2020? He's good on these climbs. You do not create that gap just noodling around. And so I think the idea that, like what... I do not think, if we have a look at Pellizzari's file, I would doubt that Pogacar slowed down for 30 seconds to allow Pellizzari to sit on his wheel. He went straight past him and kept smashing. Now, it is 100% true. UAE did not get out of the bus this morning and said, we're going to chase all day for the stage.
They should have done, in my opinion.
It would have been
They don't
funny.
need to, but it's a UAE stage.
100%. They were happy for if a big break went or a break got an advantage, they were going to chill. And then Movistar, we'll figure out one day. This is a level of tactics you tactically flawless, but Movistar wanted to pace. Was it for the stage with Sanchez? Was it for Rubio's GC? Who knows?
For nostalgic reasons?
Yeah, but they paced. So not UAE. They paced and kept the stage close. But then I think it's a bit disingenuous to say that you didn't want the stage and you wanted Pellizzari to win, to when you get Micah to go to the front, absolutely fucking launch it. And drop every other GC rider. Like, to make gaps, what do you mean? You have 7 minutes. And I think this is because Pogacar doesn't want... He's apologizing for wanting to win the stage, which I think is wrong. He shouldn't have to apologize.
Agree.
And he's apologized, but I do not think it's true that he didn't want it. When it got to the base of that final climb, they were like, all right, Movistar have given it to us on a platter. Let's go for it and win it.
And I also think that's a fair thing to do. And you also...
Yeah. He shouldn't have to apologize for it. He's preempting criticism. He knows people are going to criticize him for it.
Yeah, and I don't think he should do that. But I'm also of the opinion, for example, like based on my take, I believe that if Pellizzari was with him in the last 150 meters instead of it like 700, 600, 700 meters to go, that Pogacar would have gifted it to Pellizzari, in my opinion. But that being said, if their plan was not to go for the stage, Micah wouldn't be doing that pace at such a tempo from 5.5 to 2 kilometers out. He would be setting a slower pace, and that would be ramping it up on the last ramp, the last 2 kilometers.
We've seen, look at Prati de Tivo, how Micah paced.
Yeah.
Compare this. Come on.
But that celebration was fucking amazing. I'm sorry.
No. Again,
I love that.
Neither of us are criticizing for Pogacar for winning stages throughout this race.
Yeah.
You want to set records, etc. I'm sure RCS also were quite happy. But also, don't also then say I was happy for Pellizzari to win. It's like, no, you weren't. You fucking got Micah to full send it because you wanted to win the stage.
Can I be honest? When it comes to this morning, we had an interview of Pogacar about the stage itself, and I felt like he was talking about solidarity towards the riders, that like solidarity to the cause of want to start off the Umbral Pass, but he also was like actively saying, but if the organization wants us to race, well, I'm willing to race, stuff like that. And I don't know, that felt a bit, that felt a bit, I might be cynical right now, but I felt a bit connected to the fact that he's literally being paid to participate here.
Yeah, he's in a tough spot. First of all, also, if you make everyone do this long, wet stage, Pogacar probably wins the stage by 7 minutes.
Or the break wins.
Yeah, with Pogacar in the break. Go on the break on Stelvio. Don't you think he could get in the break at this point? Who would chase him?
He wouldn't take that risk, I think.
I don't know. He could have gone on the break today, but I think he's just also like...
Imagine.
you don't want to be like the GC rider who's like, I'm scared to run in the wet. Not that he is, or he's good in the cold and wet, but he's kind of in a tough spot where he doesn't want to say anything. In the end, the riders really had good solidarity today, regardless.
And I also like that Pogacar gave his glasses and his jersey to Pellizzari after the stage. And it was Pellizzari that went to him. Pellizzari went to him after the stage and was like, if he looked like he wanted the jersey. And then Pogacar gave his glasses and eventually also gave his jersey. So I'm not sure Pogacar wanted to give the jersey away, but he did it anyway. So it's I like that stuff.
He's got 20 of them, or he should have 20 of them eventually. Anyway, it was it was more memorable than Joseph Cherney, no disrespect, winning that shortened stage in 2020.
Yeah.
Tomorrow's stage, Benji, lower altitude. I lied. They're not. They go over 2,000 at the start. 159 Ks from Selva di Val Gardena. This is the second hardest stage left. We do have the Grappa stage. This almost is a better raid stage, frankly.
Yeah.
They start with the Passo Sella, 9K, 7.5% to 2,250 meters. That's a hard start. Up to out of sort of altitude, descent, false flat downhill valley of 20 Ks, then 20K stepped climb, the Passo Rolle, up to just under 2,000. So another long climb up to decent altitude, another descent, 5Ks, 5.8%. Then the Passo Brocon, 13.6 Ks, 6.5%. Let me see if there's some fake news in there. There is. The first 2 Ks, ignore them. It's steep. There's 2 Ks in there at 11%. Delicious. And then, oh no, sorry, that's the last one. The first one's actually just regular. Then they do the Passo del Brocon. I ran out of names in this part of the world. 12 Ks, again, 6.5%. Maybe it's the other side. I don't know. Probably is. And yeah, it's got some steep ramps in there. What do you make of this stage, Benji? Very intense stage.
I like the stage. It's a relatively short stage, but it's also the kind of stage where the hard start, the amount of breakaway riders going up the road on the Passo Sella, the fast run in towards Passo Rolle. Unironically, it feels like the kind of stage where you might see UAE struggle a little bit more when it comes to controlling the race on the first climb, because people might go left. But let's be honest about it, he's got a gigantic gap, so it's not that big of a deal. But what does GC look like? Is there anyone that will try something GC-wise in a breakaway? The riders outside the top 10. Store, Fortunato, Hirt. No, Hirt is in top 10, so
4,000 meters climbing tomorrow, 4,100 meters is decent. In terms of the break, I mean, I think Martinez is happy where he is, right? So Bora don't need to do anything.
Correct.
He's sitting second. I think Thomas, given his shape, they're not going to try anything, especially as Aronsman's riding for white. So Ineos not going to do anything. Podium's podium, second. Yeah.
There's nothing when it comes to Thomas that is sparkling offensiveness in the coming stages, because on one end, he's been saying that he's gotten second before and he's going to try and risk it all for that. But then again, he's not going to risk the stop tree when he's 7 minutes 40 behind. And he's not going to risk it all for to try and beat 22 seconds on Martinez. It's also too close to Martinez that he might see, okay, if Martinez has a bad day, I can try and benefit from that. And his form in the last 2 days wasn't outrageous either. It was on
Martinez
par,
looked better on both
and
days,
today worse. And today worse than Martinez. Yeah, you're right based on today as well. But I don't see Thomas as the offensive rider here. I do expect O'Connor to do something. Like he doesn't look like he has the shape to beat Thomas and Martinez right now, though.
O'Connor has to, because Tiberi's riding against Aronsman.
Yeah.
He does have. He's not. He has to be careful not to lose fourth, I guess. But he already came fourth in the Tour de France. So say he goes all out and moves to, I don't know, fifth.
Yeah, but he's out of contract. So every spot counts. It
does. I honestly don't think fourth versus fifth versus sixth is moving the needle too much. But
4, 5, yes. Versus 6 difference for me. Top 5
top
versus
5.
top 10. 6 is top 10 for me.
Okay. But podium, in terms of contracts, that does make a difference.
Yeah.
Podium and Grand Tour, that's a special that's a different category of rider. You know, Vlasov, nice rider, hasn't podium and Grand Tour. Almeida before last year, nice rider. Then he podium the Giro. Now you're in a different category. So he does have a minute 30 on Tiberi to play with, and he's a minute 2 behind Thomas. He hasn't looked so good today and on stage 15 in the high mountains. I do think the Brocon stage is quite nice for him. He also has I think he has the deepest mountain support available to him. Mike is the best mountain domestique. Don't get me wrong. But in the finish today, in the top 10, there's APP and VPP. Yeah. And I don't know where Baudin's gone.
Baudin's still 16th in GC. What do you mean? As in where he went today?
Yeah, he must have lost a lot of time today.
He was on 2:12 today behind Micah and Luca Kovili. Who is Luca Kovili? Sorry, but the man always shows up in the top 20.
Dude, what is Mauri doing, man? What is he doing in this race? Can you go on the break tomorrow? O'Connor, I think what they should do is get one satellite rider. I would prefer to have APP as a satellite rider because he's about 15 kilos heavier than VPP. So on the flat, a little bit more useful. Or the Paso Gobera. Yeah.
Is there a lot of flat?
Yeah, but even on 5 or 6%, I'd rather have APP pulling me. There's also flat on top of the first Paso Brocon. There's like a 4K plateau where even if you have a 5-second gap, you need a helper. So even the start of the last Brocon is the first 2Ks are 2%. So I think O'Connor's got to try something tomorrow. And I think he's got more explosiveness than G. Martinez, he won't catch. Martinez looks better than him. But he's got to try something. And I would suggest APP in the break and get VVP to do his Jebel Jais lead out.
I like the idea, but I think it's also a risky move, and I'm not sure they're going to be willing to make that risk.
You reckon they'll wait for the steep ramp on the last Brocon and then see how you feel?
Potentially, or they might even like go through this stage, see where they are, then look at Monte Grappa or Zapata for the all-out move if it's needed. Because we're still only, between quotes, on stage 18. But like you always say, like a wise man always says, the time you take in an early stage counts the same as the time you take in alarm.
It does. It really does. Do you think Tiberi and Bahrain should think bigger?
It depends, because Tiberi yesterday wasn't super outstanding. So it depends on, because today was an easier between brackets. The weather wasn't great, but an easier stage on paper than the day before. So maybe the hardest stages just don't fit Tiberi as well as the easier on paper stages. So then I'm not sure tomorrow will be that easy either. It depends on what the pacing is like in the peloton, how hard the breakaway battle is at the start. What do you think, break or GC?
He put 16 seconds into G and O'Connor today.
Yeah. And yesterday?
Yesterday was a rest day. I don't know how their rest day rides looked.
I mean Sunday. I don't count rest days in my calendar.
Did he drop them on the day before?
He got dropped on Sunday.
He did. I'm also losing at Benji, especially with the stage getting changed. You asked me, do I think break or GC?
Yeah.
I think break because, like, yeah, I mean, maybe Novak keeps the break at 2 minutes and then Poggy says we didn't want to win the stage today. But
nah, I don't see it.
Me either. Yeah, I think break, especially with that hard start. So I'll go with Quintana, actually.
Okay, I'll go with... It's one of those days where Jan Geert might make it into the break and fuck up the entire breakaway as a consequence, you know, because he's so close in GC. That's the kind of idea I have as well going into a stage like that. So he's currently on 14:07. That's endangering P9, P8, P7, and even maybe P6 and P5 if the gap of the breakaway gets to 4 minutes. So if a rider like that gets in the breakaway, then we might see actual pacing from random teams in the peloton. But Storr, I think he was pretty good today. Storr was 8th today on the final climb.
If he gets in the break, he'll be yeah. Especially his lower altitude finish. It's like at 12K. It's not a big, long climb for Quintana. Yeah. Okay, I grant you Storr, but I'll stick with Quintana. Who else could get in the break and look good? Steinhauser, of course, has looked very, very good. It's sort of the names we expect. Yeah, Alrighty. Do you think it'll be good?
Well, even today I enjoyed, to be honest. Like, I went into this Giro with zero expectations, so every stage I found something to enjoy so far, except for that one stage where I said it sucked. I don't remember what it was. But that breakaway stage that was won by
10.
By someone. I don't even know who won that stage anymore. That's how far we've gotten here.
VPP.
No.
Cusano Mutri.
Oh, was that VPP? Oh
Yeah.
yeah, because he got caught on praten die TV. Yeah, that one was a bit meh for me.
Yeah. All right, let's hope there's a raid tomorrow on the road. And I'm looking at Bahrain and Decathlon to be the protagonists of that, especially as Caruso looked very, very good today, actually, for someone that lost half his skin this Giro.
Jesus.
Yeah, he in terms of walking wounded as well, I think Chef crashed again today, Benji.
Yep.
And also Mikel Biot had a really rough day. He finished last today on his own. So I think he
Did you
might not be
read
feeling
that
good.
story about Jente Biermans?
No, I did not.
I think it was on the stage 2 days ago, fell, according to his own quotes, 25 meters into a ravine, and multiple teams' cars had to stop to try and find him, and he finished the stage, but he abandoned this morning.
Jesus.
And he wasn't even lost that day.
That's the scariest thing. If you go off the edge and you're like last of a group and no one sees you, no one might find you.
Yeah.
Like, even if you're
terrifying,
like alive for a bit, like that also happened to me. Luckily, someone helped me.
I'm going to go on a rant here. So,
okay.
First of all, when it comes to the positions that riders are in a race, can't there be some kind of technology on planet Earth that the location of riders, that we see that in multiple, isn't there a Tour de France tracker where you see them on the map? Like, that kind of vibe in races?
Yeah, there should be the crash notification.
Yeah, that's also...
Like, head units already can do it. Head units can already do it.
So I like the idea of maybe someone thinking about that, and then I think further of, okay, what kind of organization should think about the safety of the peloton? And then last night I was having a rant in my head about the fact that everybody was speaking out about an independent entity to improve the safety of the sport called
they have that.
Safer, and now I hear nothing about it. It's dead in the water. Like, it's upside down in the water trying to breathe right now. It's got no one trying to control the ship, and I feel like it's just a fight. People were so concerned with who was going to run Safer that Safer isn't running. So, like, there's no... Do we need to get to the point again that a rider loses their life before we actually do something about it? Like, I can't wrap my head around that.
Yeah, I agree. But, you know, there's so many stakeholders, politics, etc.
Fuck politics, man.
Well, they run the world, I'm afraid, Benji. What was I going to say? Yeah, the technology exists though, Benji. So I don't care who it is, but the DS in the car should be able to get a notification or something that, like, your rider's gone from 70 to 0. And probably someone needs to go check on that.
Then again, my AirPods often pretend that my bike box during travel is literally in the ocean, so I'm not sure how accurate the GPS is.
Really? I thought today when I was just sitting in the hail, I was like, if I crash, Eli's going to kill me. So if I crash, I better make a good job of it, because if I crash and don't, she'll finish me off. Just kidding, sort of. But yeah.
Talking about crashing, I'm about to jump on the trainer, so I won't crash.
What do you mean talking about crashing? If you crash on the trainer, what's going on? I
once had a flat tire on a trainer, by the way. Because I was stupid enough not to realize that those, like, wheel-on trainers, that I fucking hate, by the way. I'm like a direct drive trainer guy. A wheel-on trainer, when you put your wheel in there, your tire, you need to have a special fucking tire.
No, they're no good. They're not good.
Why do you need a special tire? My tire just burned apart and I had a flat tire in the middle of a Zwift race. That's not supposed to happen.
Well, that's why you need a special tire.
Nobody told me that.
There's an internet. It's a wonderful thing. It should be on the trainer thing. I don't know if you bought it new or secondhand.
I did.
But, dude,
I didn't read the manual.
Again, there was no join read.
Away.
There was no join read today, but I'm doing this stamina plan, and I am cooking. I am cooking, Benji. I'm telling you,
how difficult is it? Because I'm like getting into it. I did a RAM test yesterday to see where I'm at. I'm at one of my highest levels right now, so I want to see where that stamina plan can get me.
Stamina plan is legit. Like, you look at where it says you're going to be level wise in 3 months. I was like, nah, that can't be right. I would run for Visma in this Giro. That's the case. It depends. Like, if you're stupid like me and you do your VO2 max intervals at 1800 meters average altitude, then yeah, it's a little bit harder to work out than doing it, let's say, at a gel. But
hey,
it depends.
altitude?
You adjust the level you're at. I'm at, I think, advanced.
But since you're living at 1300, 1400 altitude meters, whatever it is, you're making more red blood cells, mate. You've got natural improvement, and you've disappeared. He's back.
I'm pretty sure I get all the negative effects in that my sleep is reduced, my sleep quality, but it's not high enough to actually induce the. I'm pretty sure. Although I'm much more comfortable, like if I go 2,000 meters, I don't really mind.
We should do like a vlog camping on 2,200 meters.
I don't do camping, but
next to the bear.
Luke's Dutch, so Luke is trying to convince us. I'll say we're on a tangent, so why not? Luke's trying to convince us next Tour de France, not this year, 25. It was my idea to hit up Adria Mobile because they gave Roglic a motorhome. I was like, why don't we get Adria Mobile, deck out with a styling satellite, and we could go around and follow the Tour de France? Because that's always been. I wouldn't mind following the races. I don't mind. That's not the problem. The problem is we need stable. We're live streaming this. I mean, yeah, we need stable internet. So yeah, I've dropped out twice this episode, but we need stable internet to be able to live stream. I need stable internet to be able to receive the large files for the stages and then edit and upload those files for the Tour de France, the highlight videos. But we got Starlink up on that. And I was like, we could follow the race. But Luke wants to do that because they love camping. But I was like, you guys are saying that you go on the bus, I'll still might be staying at Airbnb.
But
I'm precious.
Yeah, that is the rule. If we do it, you're staying on the van in the bloody van.
Nah, I ain't subject to the RCS rules. By the way, some of the riders, there was like, I swear some of them were sleeping at a 500 meter level difference yesterday.
Really?
Yeah. Some were at like 13, some were at like 18. I was like,
ooh.
I don't know. Maybe Bardet was at 2,800 meters. Luke will know. I haven't heard his cope about Bardet's today. I mean, he saved a little bit. All right. Good stage tomorrow. I hope you enjoyed the pod, and we'll see the recap of the Barocon hopeful raid stage tomorrow. Until then, ciao.